She's worse than Biden. She is a horrible negotiator. Things that he's done. He's done horrible things.
To replenish the Social
Such a
Security
nasty
trust.
woman.
Love him or hate him, Trump is a master of persuasion and a savage debater. And this skill is reflected in his presidential debates. And despite what happened in the Trump and Harris debate, whether he wins or he loses, there's still something worth studying about Trump's persuasion and debating skills. Because at times, even when they are nonsensical, somewhat childish, they somehow still work for the large part.
People try to hit him with statistics and facts. He would just go, wrong.
But before we dive deep into the mind of Trump's chaotic debate strategy, let's try and understand what makes a good debate in the first place. According to Bob Sear, who's a world champion debater, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, there are 3 rules that make an effective debate: training, format, and relationship. How do you prepare for that debate, the format of it, and the relationship you have with the person you're debating with? Trump breaks all 3 of these rules. And that's what makes this so interesting to understand. Because how can someone just come in and change the entire landscape of how these debates are conducted? So after watching and rewatching his debates since 2016, let's go deep into the chaotic mind of Trump's debate strategy. Of course, this is not a political video. So all political views aside, we're just trying to study his communications. And if you like such communications content, you can subscribe for more. So the foundation of understanding why Trump's debates are so effective, and more importantly, they're just so fun to look at. Even for someone outside of the United States, it's still fun to watch it because Trump is an entertainer first and then a politician. And the way he combines his entertainment personality, his business personality, along with his politician personality just comes out in the way he uses wit and humor against his counterparts. And this was displayed in the best and funniest manner when he was debating against Clinton back in 2016.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton. I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not?
In fact, according to journalist James Ponywozik, Trump is supposed to be looked at as a TV character. And it's probably why he has so much social attention going towards him, which was obvious since the beginning. He's not playing politics. He's using punchline politics to get the reaction from the crowds to drown out his opponent. And this method of using punchlines and humor is amazingly complemented by something known as the echo chamber effect. Now, we all know Trump loves repetition. He loves repeating things. He likes to say things again, even if they mean the same. He likes to repeat them and put them into a loop.
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me. This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy.
Now, in most cases, this is irritating to listen to, but when Trump does it, it serves 2 purposes. First is he uses none to very few filler words while talking. And in a debate, you don't want to use filler words because it makes you come across as uncertain. Now, the way to get rid of filler words is by knowing your stuff really well, which of course at that level you do know, but it's sometimes hard to rely on that when you're under a high pressure situation. The second way to do it is to pause instead of using a filler word like an or an ah. But the third way to do it is to just replace that filler word with something else entirely. And that's where Trump's repetition comes into the picture. In fact, this allows him to keep speaking even if we aren't able to follow his train of thought. And Vox has a great article giving an example of this. Let me read out the paragraph that's been put into this article and try to see if you can follow the train of thought. Look, having nuclear. My uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer. Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes. Okay, very smart. The Wharton School of Finance. Very good, very smart. You know, if you're a conservative Republican, if I were a liberal, if I ran as a liberal Democrat, they would say I'm one of the smartest people anywhere in the world. It's true. But when you're a conservative Republican, they try. Oh, do they do a number? That's why I always start off. Went to Wharton, was a good student, went there, did this, built a fortune. You know, I have to give my credentials all the time because we're a little disadvantaged. But you look at the nuclear deal, the thing that really bothers me, it would have been so easy. And it's not as important as these lives are. Nuclear is powerful. My uncle explained that to me many, many years ago. The power, and that was 35 years ago, he would explain the power of what's going to happen, and he was right. There's a lot more in this article, but I'm going to stop here. Even while reading it, it was difficult to follow what he was really trying to say. But if you can constantly go on, and if you know how to dodge the wrong questions, which we'll talk about later, you can continue speaking and it helps you to sound more and more certain and more confident, even if you're not making complete logical sense. He also reinforces phrases a lot. Phrases like believe me or many people are saying. And a lot of politicians do this. They take a slogan, like how Trump had Make America Great, Modi had Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar, and they keep on repeating it, which is common. But Trump tends to use repetition in everyday conversations. So when he does it, it doesn't really seem like he's being weird. It just feels like he's being himself. But it's not just about constantly rambling on. What he does really effectively is to use something known as shockwave statements. The amount of times he said, no one does X better than me, no one does Y better than me. Vice has made an entire video which compiles all of these moments.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me.
And this type of hyperbolic way of talking is one of the things that make him entertaining, but also helps him to put down his opponent, because he uses these hyperboles even to draw dichotomies between the people he likes and does not like. So he'll really praise the people he likes.
This is the country where your people cheer on some of the world's greatest cricket players, from Sachin Tendulkar to Virat Kohli. The greatest in the world.
And he'll really down the people he does not like. And when he does this, he uses really extreme but simplistic language.
She's worse than Biden, in my opinion. I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator.
Unlike the stereotypical politician, he has a very rough style of speaking. Now, some people find this style of speaking relatable, others find it just irritating. But regardless of that, one of the things that sets him apart from the stereotypical politician is that he does not use any teleprompters. He does not even prepare for debates.
So Trump, how are you specifically preparing for the debate versus Harrison?
I'm not, really. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I think my whole life I've been preparing for a debate. You know, you can go in and you can have all sorts of sessions. I watched Mitt Romney go in and he worked so hard. 4 weeks he locked himself into a log cabin, and then he developed lockjaw. He couldn't speak. I watched other people. I mean, you have to be real.
Now, if you look at this clip from the Kamala debate of her answering a question, it sounds very polished and poised.
And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
Versus Trump, who speaks very casually. And this style of speaking is what contributed to him getting a lot of attention when he initially started running. Because it was so different to see a person running to become the United States president who talks like that, which people might not be very used to. And that's one of the things that makes debating with Trump a little more difficult, because of his ability to constantly speak, use hyperbole, as well as his manner of speaking. All makes it more difficult to debate him on a logical level. And all of that becomes a lot more difficult when you add in his verbal blitzkrieg. Trump is notorious for interrupting people during debates. In fact, in the last election when he was debating Biden, reports say he interrupted him anywhere from 70 to 140 times.
You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
You want to put a lot
is
of new Supreme Court justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
Now, this can work for or against him. He did this very often with Clinton as well, to the point where it's difficult to put your point across, because when you're trying to say something logical and if somebody interrupts you, your flow breaks and hence the credibility of that statement can fall down. You can tell that person to keep quiet once and say, hey, I'm talking. But the more you do that, the less and less impact that statement holds. Although in the latest debate, the mics are only on when it's the other person's turn to speak, so the interruptions were quite low. But outside of these structured debates, in a general conversation when you're having an argument, it's not recommended to keep interrupting people. In fact, we need to listen, understand, and then respond. But for Trump, somehow this verbal blitzkrieg tends to work in his favor in a lot of these debates. Not all, but in a lot of them. And then you combine this with his pivot plays. When he's asked a question he doesn't want to answer, he'll just say anything else, even if the moderator doubles down and asks the question again.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
But this is something that politicians are generally trained to do. One thing that Trump does really well is appealing to ethos. Ethos means credibility. And when you're speaking, there's only so much credibility of yourself that you can keep relying on, although Trump does that quite often. But during debates, when he is confronted with something, he tends to name drop for the sake of defensiveness. And he'll talk about other people as they're experts, or he'll talk about them like they're nothing, depending on what direction he wants the conversation to go.
The suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. Smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated.
And this is the one thing that we can apply in our daily lives as well. When we're having an argument, instead of using our own experiences and our own credibility, what if we don't have one with regard to that topic? We can call on the names of other people who are experts in those fields and use them as reference points to support our argument. And as I said earlier, like it or not, Trump has changed the way these debates happen. But I hope to what I find this unique style of arguing helps us make some sense of the chaotic debate strategy of Donald Trump. If you like such breakdowns of personalities, we've created an entire video on another personality, which I recommend you check out to understand articulation techniques from him. That person is Jordan Peterson, and that video is right here.